Welcome back to Reddit Tales. In today's story, we explore what happens when a woman tells her boyfriend's parents she is still exploring her options and expects him to stay as her safe backup. As you listen, notice the exact moment where you would have walked away and not looked back. The dashboard clock glowed 6:58 p.m., 2 minutes early. I adjusted the bottle of Chardonnay on the passenger seat, my mom's favorite, and glanced at Chloe. She was scrolling on her phone, the blue light cutting across her face. A video thumbnail flashed, some comedian mid-joke. "You ready?" I asked, my voice a little too loud in the quiet car. "Yeah, totally," she said, still not looking up. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Just let me finish this." She'd been quiet all week. When I asked about it yesterday, she waved a hand and said, "Just work stuff, Mark. You know how it is." I believed her. I always believed her. I'd spent the afternoon cleaning my apartment, imagining a version of tonight where, after dessert, I'd bring up the idea of her moving in. I had the logic all planned out. My place was bigger, closer to her job, cheaper for both of us. It made perfect sense. In the shower, I'd practiced the line, "It's the next logical step." "Okay, let's go," she said finally, dropping her phone in her purse with a sigh. She gave me a smile. It didn't quite reach her eyes. That was the first warning sign I ignored. The walk to the front door felt normal. My childhood home smelled the same as always. Lemon polish, slow-cooked roast, the faint scent of old books. My mom, Linda, wrapped me in a hug, then held Chloe at arm's length. "You look beautiful, sweetheart. That color is fantastic on you." "Thanks, Linda," Chloe said, her social charm clicking on. She held up the wine. "For you." My dad, Robert, came out of the kitchen wiping his hands on a dish towel. Firm handshake for me, warm squeeze for Chloe. "The maestro is almost finished," he said. "Have a seat, you two." We settled in the living room. The good glasses were out. Sinatra played softly from the old stereo. It was almost exactly how I'd pictured my future looking. Chloe sat close to me on the sofa, her leg pressed against mine. My earlier anxiety started to loosen. I told myself, "See, everything is fine." Dinner was my dad's famous pot roast. Carrots and potatoes, soft and rich. The conversation was easy. Dad asked about the new software rollout at my firm. Mom asked Chloe about the charity gala she was planning. "It's going to be incredible," Chloe said, hands moving through the air. "We've got this silent auction item, a weekend ski trip to Aspen. I'm this close to stealing it for myself." She laughed, my parents laughed, and I just watched her. She was the center of gravity at the table. I was happy to orbit. Then my mom poured more wine and asked the question I'd been waiting for. "So, you too," she said, her voice warm. "We don't like to pry, but any big plans on the horizon? You seem so wonderfully settled." It was my opening. My heart jumped. Under the table, I felt Chloe's hand find mine. Her fingers were cool. I took it as a sign. A quiet, "We're in this together." I opened my mouth to start my well-rehearsed speech. Chloe spoke first. She leaned forward a little, her voice turning soft and thoughtful. "You know, Linda, that's such a great question." She paused, looking from my mom to my dad, then down at our joined hands on the tablecloth. She gave my hand a small pat. It felt strangely patronizing. He's the sweetest man I've ever known, truly so kind, so stable," she said, stable, like it was a medical condition. "He's like a perfect, cozy fireplace," she added. A cold feeling started in my stomach. "But I'm just at a point in my life where I need to be sure about everything," she went on, her gaze drifting toward the window. "I'm young. Well, youngish," she let out a light laugh. "I feel like I owe it to myself to keep exploring my options. You understand, right?" This was not honest. This was public humiliation dressed up as self-discovery. The world didn't shatter. It got very sharp and very clear. I noticed a speck of paprika on the tablecloth near my plate. I saw my mom's smile dip in slow motion. I saw my dad's fork freeze halfway to his mouth. I felt the weight of Chloe's hand on top of mine. Suddenly, it felt like a dead thing. Exploring my options hung in the air with the smell of gravy. She had just told my parents to their faces that their son was a temporary placeholder. A cozy fireplace to keep her warm while she shopped for a dramatic bonfire somewhere else. The room went silent except for Sinatra singing "Fly Me to the Moon" from the other room. I looked at our hands, her slim, manicured fingers on top of my heavier ones, a public display of affection that, in that second, was the most disrespectful thing I had ever felt. Calmly, without a word, I slid my hand out from under hers. The sound of my chair legs on the hardwood floor was loud in the quiet room. I stood up. My movements felt slow and precise. I looked at my parents. My mom's eyes were wide and wet. My dad's jaw was clenched. "We should go," I said. My voice was flat, no anger, no shaking, just a fact. I walked around the table and pulled Chloe's chair back for her. Her confident expression finally cracked. "Mark, what are you?" "We're leaving," I repeated, still not looking at her. I glanced at my dad. He gave me the smallest nod. It felt like he was handing something back to me, my dignity. I helped Chloe up from her chair. She was quiet now. I grabbed her purse from the sideboard. I still couldn't look at my mom. "Thank you for dinner," I said into the space between them. "It was excellent." Then I led the ghost of my relationship out of my parents' house, leaving the future I had imagined cooling on their table. The cold night air hit us. Chloe finally found her voice. "Mark, stop. What was that? You're being ridiculous." I didn't answer. I unlocked the car, got in, and started the engine. She stood outside for a second, then yanked the passenger door open and slid in. "Are you serious right now?" she demanded. "You just dragged me out of there because of one little comment." "It wasn't a little comment, Chloe," I said, eyes on the road. My voice was still calm in a way that even scared me. "Oh my God, you are so sensitive," she groaned. "I was just being honest with them. I was being real. Isn't that what you always say you want?" "Honesty," I repeated. The word tasted bitter. "Yes, I was telling them the truth. I love you, Mark. You know I do, but love isn't always enough. There's a whole world out there. I have needs. I have curiosities. Is it a crime to want to be sure?" The turn signal clicked loudly in the silence. "So I'm an experiment," I said, not a question, just naming what she had said. "No, don't put words in my mouth," she snapped. You're my foundation, but even foundations get inspected, right, to make sure they can handle what's being built on them." It was one of the most selfish metaphors I'd ever heard. "You humiliated me," I said quietly. "In front of my parents, you reduced 2 years of my life to a trial run for you." "I did not," she shot back. "You're catastrophizing. They adore me. They understood what I meant. You're choosing to be hurt because you're scared of anything that isn't your perfect, planned-out little life." For 20 minutes, she talked. Excuses, self-pity, little insults wrapped as concern. "You're taking this the wrong way. I just meant I need to grow. You're so content. I want more from life before I settle. This is healthy. This is modern dating. You're so sweet, Mark, but sweetness can be passive. Sometimes people will tell you who they are in one long monologue. All you have to do is listen." I drove. I didn't argue. I didn't try to explain. I let every word harden the ice in my chest. We reached her apartment. I pulled into a visitor spot and put the car in park. The engine idled. The silence came back, heavy and full. She looked at me, waiting for a fight or tears or begging, anything she could grab onto and spin. I unbuckled my seatbelt and got out. I walked around the car and opened her door, a final automatic habit. She stepped out, searching my face. "Mark, talk to me, please." I looked at her, really looked. The girl I had imagined a future with, and I felt nothing. No love, no hate, just a clear, empty space. She reached out for my arm. I took a step back, just out of reach. Her eyes widened. That simple step back scared her more than anything I'd said. I met her gaze. "You're free to explore now," I said, my voice quiet and final. I turned, got back into my car, and closed the door. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing on the curb, one hand still half raised. I didn't wait to see if she moved. I drove away. With every block, the weight in the car got lighter. Soon it was just me, the road, and a silence that felt more like peace than loss. This was the moment I chose self-respect over being someone's backup plan. The silence in my apartment felt different now. Before, it was a space waiting for her key in the lock, her laughter, her comments about my movie choices. Now it was mine. I didn't break down. I didn't throw anything. I stood in the middle of the living room, the same room where I had imagined us arguing over paint colors, and I just breathed. My phone buzzed on the counter. "Mom." "Mark, honey, are you?" "I'm okay, Mom," I said, gently cutting her off. My voice sounded normal. That surprised me. "It's over." She paused. I could hear the pain in her silence. What she said at my table, "I know," I said. "Please, I just need to not talk about it right now." "Okay," she whispered. "We're here." We hung up. The next part felt automatic. I opened my phone, scrolled to Chloe's contact. A picture of her laughing at the beach filled the screen. I saw it differently now. Block number, Instagram, block, Facebook, block. Every digital string cut in under 3 minutes. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was cleaning my life. The first night I slept like the dead. The second night I woke at 3 a.m. Her words replayed in my mind, but they felt distant. I saw my dad's frozen fork, my mom's forced smile. I let the humiliation run through me. I didn't fight it. I watched it, like a scientist studying something dangerous under glass. By dawn, it was just information. It had happened. It didn't have to own me. I went to work. I coded. I went to meetings. I ate lunch at my desk. The world went on. My hands still knew the keyboard. My brain still solved problems. That was a quiet relief. The breakup hadn't broken me. After 5 p.m. was where the real work began. I joined a serious gym, not the casual one I'd barely used before. This one had heavy bags and racks of free weights. I had no idea what I was doing. I hired a trainer for 3 sessions just to learn form. The first time I deadlifted a weight that felt impossible, my muscles screamed and my vision blurred. I thought of her patting my hand at that table. Sweet, stable. I locked out the lift. When the plates hit the floor, the sound felt like something inside me landing too. Sometimes healing starts with one hard, simple action that proves you are stronger than you thought. I texted my close friends that Chloe and I were done. "No drama, just different paths," I wrote. They offered drinks and a chance to vent. I said, "Soon. I promise." Instead, I called James, an old college friend who had moved to the city last year. We ended up eating burgers and drinking beer. We didn't talk about her. We talked about his terrible startup, dumb marketing trends, the new season of a sci-fi show we both liked. It was easy. It was calm. It was friendship without drama. I signed up for an online certification in a new programming framework, something I'd never had time for while dating her. Suddenly, my evenings had a new shape: gym, study, cook. I learned to pan-sear salmon. I perfected a garlic cream sauce. I ate at my kitchen island, listening to history podcasts, and the meal was perfect for one simple reason: I made it for me. Weeks turned into months. The sharpness of the betrayal faded into a plain fact in my past, like an old scar you forget until you see it in the mirror. I thought of her less and less. When I did, it was without heat. She was a person who made a choice. I was a person who accepted it. The first whisper of karma came on a rainy Tuesday. I was meeting James for coffee. He was late, fidgeting with his phone when he arrived. "Sorry," he said, sliding into the booth. "Got sucked into the drama vortex." I raised an eyebrow. "Mutual acquaintance," he said. He knew I'd blocked everyone connected to her. "Apparently Chloe's new thing is intense." I stayed quiet. My silence gave him room to choose how much to say. "Guy named Jason," he went on. "Some entrepreneur who sells imported flashlight batteries or something online. Leased Maserati. Full vibe." I waited. "From what I hear, it's a ride. 1 week they're in Vegas. The next she's crying at brunch because he doesn't do labels. Her friends are exhausted." I felt a small ripple inside, not joy, not pain, just recognition. The flashy bonfire she'd traded me for was burning like flashy bonfires usually do. "She wanted excitement," I said finally. "Sounds like she found it." James looked at me for a second, then smiled. "You're different, man." "Am I?" Yeah, old Mark would have been worried. Would have asked a bunch of questions just to make sure she was okay. He was right. That version of me had died very politely at my parents' table. "I'm not responsible for her choices," I said. It was the truest thing I'd said in a long time. At this point, a lot of people would have gone back if she cried hard enough. This is where you have to decide if your peace is worth more than your history. Seasons changed. A year went by. My certification was on my LinkedIn. My salary went up. My body was stronger. The silence in my apartment felt like a friend, not an empty room. The next update came from the edges of our old social circle. I saw Mia, her best friend, at a grocery store. I tried to turn down the cereal aisle, but she'd already seen me. She gave a small, tired wave. There were lines around her eyes I didn't remember. I nodded, polite but distant, and walked on. A month later, James said Mia and Chloe had a huge fight. The reason, of course, was Jason. The social media glimpses that slipped through people I hadn't blocked told a quiet story. The fancy dinners and club photos stopped. Then came a quote about betrayal. A blurry wine glass. Then nothing. The final piece came from the most boring source of all, public records. One evening, waiting for code to compile, I did something I'd never let myself do before. I looked up Jason's business. A flashy website, lots of stock photos, words like disrupt and synergy. A few clicks deeper, state business records showed his LLC had been dissolved 6 months earlier for not paying fees. On a local business forum, a comment from last week. Scammer, took orders, never delivered, avoid. So the bonfire had burned through its fuel. It didn't feel satisfying or sad. It just felt neutral. The option had been explored. It had failed. The first direct contact came as a text, a number I didn't recognize but an area code I knew. It was a Sunday morning. I was reading, sunlight on my back. Mark, it's Chloe. I know I probably shouldn't be texting you. I think I made a terrible mistake. Can we talk? I stared at the words. No spike in my chest, no shaking hands, just text on a screen. I saw the 3 dots appear, then vanish. She was waiting. I put the phone face down and finished my chapter. I made more coffee. I watched a bird build a nest outside my window. 2 hours later, another text. Please. I picked up the phone. I didn't delete the messages. I opened the number, created a contact, and named it Do Not Answer. Then I blocked it. It felt like cleaning a filter, not revenge, just self-care. Her mistake was now hers. My peace was mine. The voicemail came a week later while I was reviewing plans for a small deck I wanted to build on my patio. My phone lit up with the Do Not Answer name. I let it go to voicemail, measured one more board, then hit play on speaker. Her voice was thin, shaky. Mark, it's me. I know you probably hate me. I need you to know I'm sorry. I was scared and stupid and young, and I said the most horrible thing to the best person I've ever known. You were my home. I didn't know what I had until I set it on fire. Please, can you just call me back? I'm so lost. A sniff, then a click. I saved the voicemail, not as a keepsake, as a data point, a reminder of the distance between who she had been at my parents' table and who she sounded like now. Then I archived it and went back to my measurements. The friend call came next. Mia. Mark, she started, her voice too cheerful. Hi, how are you? I'm well, Mia, I said. What can I do for you? She paused. She wasn't used to me setting the tone. Well, I'm calling about Chloe. I assumed, I said. She's really not doing well, Mark. Like, really not. That guy Jason, he was a nightmare. Took money, lied about everything. It was all fake. She's wrecked. I'm aware he was unsuccessful, I said. Another pause. My lack of emotion didn't fit her script. Right. Well, she's hurting. She's alone. A lot of us are just tired of the drama, you know. She needs someone stable. I stayed quiet. Look, Mia pushed. I know what she did at that dinner was bad, but would it kill you to show a little compassion, to just talk to her? You were together for 2 years. Doesn't that mean anything to you? I leaned back, looking out at the city lights. Mia, my compassion was spent a long time ago, I said. I'm not responsible for the consequences of her choices. She's free to explore. Freedom includes facing the results of exploration. That's cold, Mark, she said. It's factual, I replied. Anything else? She hung up. That night, more texts, different number, same voice. Why won't you answer me? I said I was sorry. You were never this cruel. You've changed. Is this your revenge, to ignore me while I'm falling apart? I didn't block that number. I read them like weather updates from a storm that had already passed. The message was clear. She wanted to make her pain my responsibility. This is where a lot of people cave because they don't want to feel mean. But there is a difference between being cruel and having a boundary. The final act started on a Thursday evening. I was chopping vegetables when the buzzer for my building rang. I ignored it. It rang again, and again, long and desperate. I sighed, wiped my hands, and hit the intercom button. "Mark, it's me," her voice crackled through. "I know you're there. Please, I need to see you." I let go of the button. Silence. Then the buzzer again, loud and long. I knew my neighbors would complain. The easiest way to protect my peace was a short, firm conversation. I buzzed her in. I didn't open my door wide. I stood in the frame, arms crossed, blocking the entrance. She looked smaller. Rumpled clothes, makeup smudged. The sharp, confident energy was gone. "You won't answer my calls," she said, accusing. "No," I agreed. "Why? How can you just shut me out after everything?" She stepped closer. I didn't move, but I also didn't step aside. She stopped. "You asked for your freedom," I said. "You have it. This," I gestured between us, "isn't my problem." She let out a wild little laugh. "I'm hurting, Mark. The man I left you for was a con artist. He's gone. My friends are gone. I have nothing." I stayed silent. "Don't you see?" she begged. Tears started to fall. "It was all a mistake, a huge, stupid mistake. You were right. Stable is good. Sweet is good. I was an idiot. I want to come home." Home meant my apartment, my life, my stability, not the place she had walked away from at that table. "This isn't your home," I said, my voice low and final. Her face crumpled, then hardened. Tears vanished. The old anger came back. "You were never this cold," she snapped. "What's wrong with you? Did I break you that badly? Is that it? You're just this empty, bitter shell now. I said I was sorry. What more do you want from me?" There it was, the truth. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry it backfired. "I don't want anything from you, Chloe," I said. "Not a thing." The sentence took all the air out of her. She looked lost. "Goodbye," I said, not as a wish. As a simple description of what this was. I closed the door. I heard a muffled sob, then footsteps fading down the hall. I went back to the kitchen and finished dicing the onion. Any tears in my eyes were from that and only that. Saturday morning, sunlight poured through the glass canopy at the farmer's market. The air smelled like fresh bread, coffee, and strawberries. I held a woven basket in one hand, Sarah's hand in the other. Sarah is a landscape architect I met through work. She has a calm, grounded energy and a smile that feels real, not rehearsed. We'd been dating 4 months. It was easy. It was mutual. We were talking about heirloom tomatoes versus perfect round ones when I felt a gaze on me. That old prickling at the back of my neck. I looked up. Chloe stood about 10 feet away near a flower stall, holding a latte. She looked put together but tight, like everything was pulled one step too far. Her eyes went from my face to Sarah's, then to our joined hands. I saw the calculation there. Loss, regret, envy. Sarah felt my hand tense and followed my gaze. "Friend of yours?" she asked gently. "Someone I used to know," I said. I squeezed her hand. "It's fine." But Chloe was already walking toward us. She ignored Sarah completely, eyes locked on me. "Mark," she said. "Hi, Chloe," I answered with a small nod. The market moved around us, voices, music, kids laughing. Can we please just get a coffee?" "Talk as friends?" she asked. Her voice shook. Sarah turned slightly, studying a row of honey jars, giving us space but staying close. Her presence was an anchor. "No," I said. The word was calm, simple, final. Chloe's composure cracked. Why are you doing this?" I said I was sorry. "I've been sorry. I miss you. I miss us." I took a slow breath. The air smelled like basil and wet soil. I looked at her, really looked. For the first time, I felt nothing but a faint pity for the story she was still trying to live in. "Chloe, no," I said, my voice clear. "This is Sarah." I gestured to my side. Sarah gave her a small, polite smile that didn't invite anything. "We're in the middle of our day," I added. Chloe's eyes finally moved to Sarah. She seemed to notice the difference. No performance, no desperation, just a woman standing beside me, not hanging off me. I miss you," she whispered again, the words empty now. I realized I had reached the final stage of moving on, not anger, not hurt, just truth. "I don't think about you," I said. It wasn't cruel. It was simple fact. "I wish you well, Chloe, truly, but please don't contact me again." I shifted my body slightly towards Sarah. A physical full stop. "Sweetheart," I said, and my voice warmed. "The bakery stall with the sourdough is this way. I think we're getting close." Sarah's face lit up with a real smile. "Lead the way," she said. We turned and walked back into the flow of the market. I didn't look back. I felt Sarah's hand tighten around mine, a silent question. "It's okay," I said, and I meant it in every way. "It's all okay." The past was a closed chapter. I wasn't waiting for closure. I had given it to myself. I was free, and I had been for a long time. Now, a few lessons from this story. Lesson 1: if someone tells you to your face that they are exploring options while treating you as the safe backup, believe them the first time. Lesson 2: public disrespect in front of your family is not honesty. It is a clear sign of how they value you. Lesson 3: you are not responsible for cleaning up the fallout from someone else's choices, even if you once loved them. Lesson 4: blocking, moving on, and building a better life is not cruelty. It is a boundary. Lesson 5: real love does not need you to be tested, compared, or inspected like a product. It chooses you and keeps choosing you. Lesson 6: karma is often just people finally living inside the results of their own decisions while you live inside yours. What about you? At what point would you have walked away in this story? Do you think Mark was too cold at the end, or was he simply protecting his peace? Share your thoughts in the comments.